And morning. Welcome to the Texas Real Estate Show. And we're going to talk about some interesting topics this morning. First of all, we're going to talk about how you can get the deed on your house stolen. There are so many people out there that can actually, they don't realize it, but you can actually go to your local county house and you can file a deed on a house and it's never checked out, and it's always so there are some services out there that you can use, but we're going to run a video that we came across, which is a complete stranger obtains a deed to a $4 million relay home without homeowners knowing about it. So can you read that, please, Kay?
Yeah, so this happened in Raleigh, North Carolina. And so I'm just going to show you this video. So let's see.
Deed to his home was taken from him. The deed no longer in his name, despite the man owning the home and still living there with his wife.
Our I-Team troubleshooter Diane Wilson is here now. Diane, this is just a really wild story, and we're all left wondering how it could even happen.
You know, so crazy, and shockingly, the owner says this all happened just by someone going to the Wake County Register of Deeds with some paperwork claiming ownership, and the deed, it's now in their name.
I'm left the victim, and there's no recourse. So it's just a tough spot to be in.
A tough spot to be in for Craig Adams, the owner of this beautiful 8,300 square foot home in North Raleigh. He does have it listed for sale, but has lived in it for the last 4 years, paying the mortgage and property taxes. But he just discovered the deed to his home, no longer in his name. Instead, it lists a complete stranger.
Found out that she had filed a false warranty claim deed against this house, basically trying to steal this home.
She being someone named Dawn Mangum. Craig only learned about Mangum getting the deed in her name after the property management company for his HOA asked if he sold his home, as Mangum contacted the management company to get gate access, since Craig's home sits in a private gated community. This paperwork filed with the Wake County Register of Deeds office, signed by Mangum, states Craig Adams as a debtor, along with Dawn Mangum estate. And Wake County approved the deed transfer to Dawn Mangum Trust. Craig went to the Wake County Register of Deeds to question how this happened.
There's no effort to authenticate the validity of the change of deed. Nobody verifies the notary. Nobody verifies who owns the house that's trying to be transferred to a different owner.
Craig says once he proved he's the owner of the home and Dawn Mangum has no stake in it, the deed still stays in Dawn Mangum estate.
They say there's absolutely nothing they can do to reverse this once it's filed. Their only solution is that I have to go hire a private attorney, and the first quote I got was about $8,000 to file a civil suit against this woman.
A representative for Wake County says under North Carolina law, the Register of Deeds is not required to verify the legal validity of a deed when it is presented for registration, nor are they required to verify the credentials or legal standing of the notary or drafter of the document. She adds as soon as they became aware of the fraudulent deed, it alerted the tax administration office. The no tax information for the property should be changed. A representative also said because a deed has been recorded, the Register of Deeds office does not have the authority under North Carolina state law to remove the document from the record without a court order.
This is the biggest concern, is the citizens of Wake County we're so vulnerable. Anybody, I could go down and put this warranty deed, find out where you live, and I could presumably take ownership of your house. It's that easy.
I reached Mangum on the phone, who said everything was done by law as she thought the property was in foreclosure. And she believes by law you can claim an abandoned property. She texted me, "My thing is not to take anyone's home, but to find abandoned property and restore it." But once she learned the property isn't in foreclosure, she said she stopped all paperwork. She added she'd like to return the ownership to Craig and claims the paperwork will be amended. As for Craig, he said the foreclosure.
So I have my question about that. I have a couple of questions, but one of my questions is why she stated that she wants to she thought the home was in foreclosure and things like that. So does that mean that she can get the home since the deed is transferred to her name? Does that mean that she can just get the home without purchasing it?
There's two separate parts to this, okay? The first thing is, anybody, all right, can go and file a deed on anybody's house, and you don't need, it's just got to be notarized. The local city council don't check on anything. They just put the deed on record. That's all they do. As I said earlier on, I use a company called Home Title Lock that stops this happening, and it basically is an insurance where in the event this happened on one of my properties, they would pay for an attorney, and they specialize in it if anybody puts an additional deed on my property. Right. It's just like an insurance. But there's the second part is with what he was saying was, if a property is in foreclosure, the bank owned the property. All right, and if it's empty for a time, then you can't claim the property.
Right, but my question is so with her saying, I thought it was in foreclosure, the things that she was saying, does that mean that if she transferred the deed into her name, she can have the home without paying the $4 million because he has it for sale?
No,
so
that's
why
what
would she? Yeah,
because she's lying. She's out and out lying. How? Because if it was in foreclosure, that means that somebody hasn't paid the lien on the house, which would be a bank lien.
Right. So
if it's a $4 million house, say the bank was owed $3 million. All right, then there's a lien on the property. If it goes to foreclosure, then the bank would have to be paid because that's what they call a first lien on the property. Okay. So she's just lying and using, like I told you, the first way to change the deeds. She's seen this for sale. She's seen it's been on the market for 3 or 4 years. Like he said, she has presumed that it's a vacant property because it's been on the market for so long. So she's decided to go file a deed on the property.
Yeah, but so let's say that a house was truly, in foreclosure, right? Would she be able to transfer the deed in her name without paying for the house still, or no? That's what I'm asking. Like, if I know she's lying, obviously, but like, if the house was actually in foreclosure and she transferred the deed into her name and she says, I was trying to restore it, blah, 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 so she would still have to pay the lien. She couldn't just transfer it.
Correct.
Into her name. Okay. So then why would she do
because
that?
Because there's a flaw in the system, and the flaw in the system is if you have a deed, and anybody can an attorney normally draws up a deed, but a good attorney will basically pull up the previous owner so the chain of title is consistent, and basically, go all the way down.
So I actually there's another video as well.
The unfortunate part with this is, yes, you can go file a deed on any property, and if somebody does that, then you've got to go hire an attorney, which can cost you money. And there's a lot of people out there that try to do this, and it costs the victim money, and they hope that the victim hasn't got the money to hire an attorney to correct the situation.
Yeah, I mean, but I would think that, somebody who has a $4 million home, they would probably be able to afford an attorney, right? Yeah. But this is something that has been happening a lot over the past 3 years. Quite a lot of people have been doing this, And I had another video, someone tried to steal Graceland from Elvis Presley.
Well, that's just stupid.
Yeah, so, but there's this one as well, where a woman, I guess, tried to steal her neighbor's home and say that it was a gift. So.
Accused of stealing her neighbor's home.
She claims the homeowner gave her the deed as a gift for work she did as an aide. But the older woman who lives in the house says the two have no relationship at all. News 4's Paisy Chang is live in Hempstead, Long Island with the details in this case. Paisy?
Yeah, it was a stunning letter in the mail notifying a woman from the Nassau County Clerk's office that she no longer owned her home. So she called the police, who arrested her neighbor's daughter after a lengthy investigation. Aurelia Sugia faced a judge today. Prosecutors say she forged her neighbor's signature to essentially steal her home.
We are vehemently contesting it. We've entered a plea of not guilty.
Sugia's attorney says her arrest and the criminal charges took him by surprise, given an ongoing civil case over who owns the home. At issue is this deed, which appears to transfer ownership of the home from Rosemary Mika to Sugia for just $10. The home is estimated to be worth upwards of $350,000.
She provided services and she stayed there from time to time as a caring, loving aide.
Sugia's attorney says the 78-year-old gifted the house to his client because of the work she did. Mika's attorney disputes the claim, saying Sugia has never done any work for her and the two have no relationship.
I believe there is conflicting evidence will demonstrate that Ms. Sugia did not forge the deed.
Sugia says she has recorded conversations between her and Mika confirming the transfer of the home and visitor stickers to the county building on the day the deed was signed over. Mika's attorney says all of it fabricated. And today, Sugia pleaded not guilty. She was ordered to not contact Mika in any.
So, this is just an interesting ongoing scheme. I think we were talking about this yesterday, Stephen, where there's just so many scams that, I mean, we can't keep up with. I would have never even thought to do this either. Have you experienced anything like this?
Yes. I've experienced the deed scams before, where what happens is it normally comes apparent when somebody's selling their home, and they realize people take liens against their home. Do you understand? You know, they do bank liens against somebody's home, and it's somebody that doesn't even own the home.
Oh, wow.
You know, so there's a lien against the property. And as I said, that's why I use Home Title Lock, because they pay the attorneys. That's what it is. You're just paying attorney insurance if there's an issue against a particular property. And then they notify me if anything ever goes against any of my properties. But what happens is, you see, when you come to buy or sell a property, and this is why it's important to use a title company, they give you basically they give you a full report of everything on that property, whether it's liens, it's what they call a title commitment, and it shows everything on that property. You know, liens on the property, deeds on the property. There's a lot of information on it.
So, if you really made someone super angry, right? Like, say you got into an argument with your neighbor across the street, and they had, your house information and things like that, and you didn't have title lock, they could get the deed of your home transferred into their name, and then just put liens on the home under your information, essentially?
It's illegal.
Right.
And if they're caught, they can go to prison.
Of course.
All right. It's a criminal offense. It's theft.
Right.
All right. But the truth of the matter is, does it go on? It does in the underworld. People do it. I think it's a flaw in the system. I think the local, it's like Houston, which is, the fourth largest city in Houston, should be able, to me, when you take a deed to a property and you record it, you should supply it with a closing statement, which has everything verified on it. you know, the new owner, the new seller.
With a better...
So that's just my intake on it anyway.
Yeah, I think that it's so interesting that people...
But to think you can just steal somebody's property is pretty sick, to be perfectly honest.
I mean, I just, you know, her saying that she...
Here it is. Hold on. Keep that up.
Yeah.
Check with Register of
So
Deeds.
this is how we can protect your property.
Sign up for fraud alerts. Notified about anything involving your name. Wake County offers free fraud alerts.
Yeah, so their county offers fraud alerts. But those are ways that you can protect your counties. They're not your counties, your properties. So you can protect your property by checking with the Register of Deeds, signing up for fraud alerts, and then you'll be notified about anything involving your name. So yeah, that's...
Which is basically the title, the company I mentioned.
Yeah.
That's basically what they do for me. I don't have to think about it. I just literally just pay them on all the properties I own. It's a significant amount of money to do it for the number of properties I've got, but it's worth it. Because then I haven't got to think about it.
Yeah. That's fair. But
let's move on to this young lady who... Everybody says that flipping homes and becoming a landlord is, you know, everybody's dream, because it gives you, you know, passive income. Unfortunately, what people don't realize is renting property, in my opinion, has never ever been passive. I always suggest to people to get property management companies, but get good property management companies. You know, the cheapest property management company is not necessarily the best, and the expensive property management company is not necessarily the best. I always try to get, you know, somewhere in the middle. And as a company, we manage properties and we're sort of in the middle. But basically, and the reason why we do that is because the people that don't want to pay a property management company are normally slumlords, all right? Or they haven't bought the property properly and they're not making enough money. And then the high-end people, to be perfectly honest, they're normally the higher-end properties, but you know, we do discount on property management, but only for volume. So let's run the tape on this next young lady who, she is a property investor. She also, I believe she also mentors, but everybody's a mentor these days, on real estate investing. And let's just roll the tape and see how it comes out.
so her tenant disappeared, so that's what we're going to show you. So her tenant disappeared, and we're just gonna...
So her tenant ghosted her,
yeah,
and left her with the property.
So let's see.
Basically the garage apartment behind one of our main houses, and the tenant just ghosted, didn't pay their rent, didn't respond to any of the follow-ups or anything like that. I don't know whose idea it was, but somebody in my family looked it up and found out that he got arrested. So he's in jail, and that means we have to go forward with an eviction. And so even though we knew that he was in jail, we had to go to court. We had to get the sheriff to come out to be here when we opened it up, make sure that he wasn't here. And then now we still have to store all of his stuff for 30 days by law. And then after that, we can dispose of it or do whatever. So we got to get this place cleared out and re-rented. And this is definitely like the downside, the dirty side of real estate that people don't show. It's definitely frustrating. Like the last time that I was in here, it was freshly renovated. It was perfect. I had been on my hands and knees for hours, laying this floor, putting up this tile, cutting up my fingertips, hanging the drywall, and to see someone not take care of it definitely hurts. But that's why you have to get paid every month. Like that's what you do it for, and you can't be so attached to it that it's like, it's not my house, it's not where I'm gonna personally live.
Quick interruption, I have great news.
So, yeah.
We deal with this on a monthly basis.
How do you even get the stairs to look like that?
They don't. We deal with this on a very regular basis where people just do not everybody, what I'm going to say, But some people are renters for a reason, right? It's nothing to do with the money. They're renters because they just cannot look after property, and they're better off being that way, because when you own your own house, you've got to maintain it. And there's some people that's in a continual cycle. They just don't look after the properties. And we've had people that, you know, we've put into properties, we've done the credit checks, we've called up previous landlords, and sometimes I even feel that previous landlords give them a good reference just to get rid of them. All right? Because they want them out their house because they haven't been good tenants. If them previous landlords gave them, you know, a bad reference, then we wouldn't take them.
Right.
Then they've still got the problem. But, you know, to be perfectly honest, and, you know, renting, like we said last week, renting isn't for everybody, and buying a house isn't for everybody. But at the same time, you know, we had a property that we leased to somebody, and they took off the double garage door at the front of the house, and they took out all of the appliances and left the house completely bare.
That's what I was going to bring up. You had this happen last year, right? One of your someone moved
last
out.
October, November.
Yeah, someone moved
And we
out.
still had to go through the process of evicting them. The house wasn't even livable. They took everything out.
Yeah. So let's continue.
In real estate is that if you are 100% dependent on the tenant's income, and then your tenants move out for whatever reason, or they don't pay their rent and you have to do an eviction, or they go to jail and you have to do an eviction, then you're you know, on the hook for it. Like, how does that even happen? What were you doing to put the door in this condition? Shout out to my brothers. Look at the cute, tiny garbage can you get for a garage apartment versus like the giant ones for the main house. So this is when his rent was $700, and like the lease says that there's late fees, and he's like, no, he's not going to pay it. He's
All right,
right,
can you stop it there?
He went to jail.
All right, let me just tell you something. The first problem that this lady made was she didn't get a real estate agent to do the lease. That is not a lease that's done from any state. That's just you can buy these leases online, and they're not very good leases. They're not drawn up by realtors associations. So, you know, that in itself is more difficult when you go to court. It's more of a generic lease.
So essentially, just one of those leases, like you said. You
So there was
legaleagle.com or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, there was probably no credit check done on this guy. That's a big mistake that people make. You know, they're so excited and they get carried away with the excitement. Oh, they've got somebody for this unit. You know, oh, we'll go take this guy. No credit checks are done. No checks are done against previous landlords. All them checks should be done. And I'm not talking about going to Credit Karma. But I feel for this lady because she's shown initiative by getting a house, renovating it.
And she did it in a smart way. She got, you know, the front of the house rented out, and then she also got the backyard rented out as well. So I think that's really
I'm home. Considering that's the first time I've had to go to that house in 2-3 years, and I've been getting rent every month. That's the part of real estate that's definitely worth it, considering that that's still a super valuable asset. If I wanted to sell it, I could make a nice little profit, and I can rent it out, whether it's Airbnb or a long-term tenant, and generate income that way. That's the part of real estate that's worth it. But there definitely are like the days where you're just super disappointed in how like a tenant treats your property, or you're super frustrated that now this property that was making you money every month is now going to cost you the entirety of the mortgage. Let me know what you guys think. Should I put it up on Airbnb, or should I get another long?
So I remember when that person stole all of that tenant stole, you know, your oven and like all of your appliances and things like that. And I know that you had to call the police to, you know, and file a police report, right?
Mm-hmm.
To, you know, get
Then we
that.
had to take them to court.
Right.
Then we put them to court, and we gave them a monetary judgment.
Mm-hmm. So how would you do? Obviously, you know, she was able to, all of the things that she had to do, essentially, she had to go and she had to prove that, you know, this person went to jail and things like that. But say that, you know, the tenant just completely ghosts them, just disappears, you know, finds a new place to live, things like that.
You've still got to evict them, and you've still got to do a writ of possession.
Which is
a writ of possession. Okay, you do an eviction, which is basically you go in front of a judge. Then the judge grants you possession of the property. Then you do a writ of possession, which means that you get a policeman, if they still haven't moved, to go to the property. You turn up with the locksmith, and then basically, you know, in Harris County, what happens is the sheriff will basically tell you you have to get some people, and they put all the trash on the curb, and they just leave the trash on the curb.
okay, because so here she had to obviously she
The
threw
state
away the
that
trash.
she's in, what state is she in?
Not certain, but she had to. I will look it up. But she had to throw away the trash, right? And then they forced her to store the items
For 30 days. In her state, that's apparently the law.
Okay, but that's not the law here in Houston, right? Or is it?
I don't believe so.
Okay. I'm not too sure of, you know, where she is located, but I just thought this was an interesting video. Because, you know, that's something that's very, very scary for anyone.
We had somebody that contacted us from California. They bought a house with the 3% when it was available, and then got themselves a great house on the west side of town at Richmond, and it was leased by another agent. The lease was done pretty well. There was a few addendums there that was good addendums to have in the contract, and then basically they was trying to manage the property themselves, and they're in California, and the tenants here, they fell behind by 6 months, 8 months without being paid. And then they hired us to go through the eviction process. We went through the eviction process, and when we got the writ of possession and we entered the house, there was maggots coming out the fridge. That's the condition of the property that it was.
Oh my gosh.
And this landlord, who I call a slum landlord, wanted us to clean the refrigerator. We refused to do it because you can't do it.
Yeah.
You can't do it.
I'm not cleaning your dirty refrigerator.
You can't do it. She said, well, we just want you to do a deep clean, you know, and you can't.
Yeah, yeah.
The refrigerator where you keep food, you've got to make sure that's 100%.
Completely.
Anyway, so let's sort of move on. I want to talk a little bit about our hearts are going out to the victims of Hurricane, is it Helene was the first one?
Mm-hmm.
And then Milton, which hit Florida last night. They reckon that the coastline of Florida will never be the same again. And so I really want to encourage people to please go to the Red Cross, American Red Cross website and donate. I've already donated to the American Red Cross. Don't go to any GoFundMe pages for Trump or anything like that. Just go to American Red Cross, because then we know it goes to the people. There's a lot of, it goes to help with the volunteers that are going to help. some of our people that with our company, they're firefighters and such like, and they have started to make their way over to Florida to help with the events over there. But basically what we'd like to do is to tell people, because there's a lot of nonsense going on out there at the moment, that if you've been caught up in the storm, the first thing you do, if you have been affected by the storm and you have lost any food, please go to the FEMA website, and the first thing you need to do is to go claim for $750, which will pay for any food that you have lost, and it will pay for diapers and clothing and such like. I believe also that what it can do is, if you've had to vacate, I believe it will pay up to a certain time for hotels. I know there's a lot of people who are in that area that have gone as far as Panama City and Louisiana. So, you know, you can go and get a hotel and FEMA will reimburse you for the hotel. And then the third thing is, and I never applied to FEMA until recently for Beryl. And I actually, only because we was affected so much with Beryl, we lost all our fences and we lost a little bit of our roof. And I applied to FEMA, and FEMA reacted quicker than my insurance company, who, you know, fought me a little bit. And I'll be honest with you, I got $1,600 from my insurance company, and I got $6,700 from FEMA. And I can't tell you how grateful I was for FEMA. FEMA are an incredible organization. They do an excellent job. Everything apparently is in place. Camilla and also Joe Biden have said that everything is in place. They're just waiting for the hurricane to bypass Florida, and then the cleanup and everything else should start. You know, we are thinking of you. For everybody in Florida, whether you're a Republican, whether you're a Democrat, who cares? I'm not bothered about it. You're an American, and we want to help you. We want to look after you. If there's anything we can do, you're more than welcome to, you know, cover us in the channel. Politics does not and should not come into this situation. But what we wanted to do was to basically let people know what your home insurance does not cover. Okay, can you just go down? Okay, I want to go down to the perils. Okay, all right. A home peril, a standard homeowner's insurance policy generally covers the dwelling of the property. Home insurance policies cover the actual structure of your home and detached structures like a gazebo, garage, pool house, shed and guest house. Personal belongings, these things in your dwelling or with you, like clothes and furniture. Liability. The liability protection included as part of a home insurance policy will cover you if someone sues you for an injury that occurs on your property. Additional living expenses if your home is damaged and you can't live there. Your homeowner's insurance will pay for a hotel, rental home, restaurant bills and some other expenses. So what I'm going to say to you with that, you can maybe get a little bit of help from FEMA, but at the same time you may be able to get a little bit of help from your insurance company. Now, this is where it gets a little bit, I don't like insurance companies, but this is where I wanted to cover this today. There's something called perils in insurance, and these are some perils where in order for most home insurance coverage to kick in, the damage must have been caused by one of 16 perils or disasters: fire or lightning, windstorm or hail, explosion, riot or civil commotion, damage caused by aircraft, damage caused by vehicles, smoke, vandalism or malicious mischief, theft, volcanic eruption, weight of ice, snow or sleet, burst pipe or water when the cause is sudden and accidental, sudden cracking and breaking of a hot water heater, air conditioner or fire sprinkler, freezing of the plumbing, heating, air conditioning or fire protection sprinkler system, or of a household appliance, power surges. Now, if you'll just scroll down, Kay, this is the important part that I want people to understand. 12 things a home insurance policy does not cover. On that list above, you've gone down too far. On that list above, you probably notice some things are missing that can cause considerable damage to a home. These things homeowners insurance does not cover. A flood or rising water. While a traditional homeowner's policy covers water damage caused by a frozen pipe, it does not cover damage caused by a flood or rising water. So all them people in Florida are going to need flood insurance. If you're concerned about your housing flooding, or if you live in a flood zone and your mortgage company requires it, you can buy a flood insurance policy from the National Flood Insurance Program. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, which is FEMA, manages the program, and coverage is available through a variety of companies. That National Flood Insurance Program, the premiums are very, very low. One of my premiums is $469 for one of my properties, and I've got full coverage for water damage. So it really is very affordable. I don't know what the premiums are in Florida. I would have thought they would have been an awful lot more. Home insurance policies also will not usually cover water that backs up from sewers, drains, sump pumps and things like that, causing water damage. Flood insurance policies probably won't kick in either. An add-on to your policy, also called a rider or endorsement, can protect you from this type of disaster. That rider or endorsement is normally on your household policy. Earthquakes, damage from earthquakes or earthquake is not covered on a standard homeowner's policy. You want to just drop down a bit? Damage due to neglect. If you don't maintain your own property, something bad happens, chances you'll be on the hook for the damage. Let me give you an example about that. What the insurance company does, and I really don't like this, the way they do it is, if you make a claim, first of all, there will be a deduction, and then what they'll also do is they will add on and they will deduct an amount for depreciation. So that's why with my insurance, I initially got $1,600. They added depreciation of 10 years or 12 years. I'd replaced that fence, and I managed to find the invoice where I replaced it after 4 years, and then I got another check from them for like $4,000. But I got more from FEMA. FEMA, to me, was the heroes in the case. So what I want to do is to pass on to everybody in Florida. We have a wonderful organization, regardless what people say. We have a fabulous president and a fabulous vice president that are willing to listen to people, and we have a wonderful organization with FEMA and its volunteers, and also a lot of volunteer organizations. Reach out to these people. Don't be scared to reach out to them. Don't be scared to reach out to your local mayors and your local governors, whether they are Republican or whether they're Democrat. It shouldn't make any difference at all. Reach out to them, because quite honestly, if you need the help, you need the help. Some of the scenes that I seen last night, because I was watching the storm coming live on YouTube, and it was really horrendous with some of these people standing on the second and third floors of car parks and the horizontal rain coming in. It was quite eye-opening.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And if someone in a car causes damage to your property, that person's auto insurance company is the one that does the primary source. I want to just scroll down a little bit. Okay. Aggressive dogs. According to Insurance Information Institute, the average cost of a dog bite claim was $58,000 in 2000. Let me tell you, be very, very careful with dog claims. I would suggest that you get liability insurance. We do on a lot of our insurance. So, if you've got a home business, you definitely need liability insurance. Homeowners insurance coverage usually covers a limited amount for personal property you might like for a business like desk or something, but get yourself liability insurance. It's very, very cheap insurance. Identity theft, if someone steals your personal information, causes financial damage and commits crimes with your name. We've spoke about that today. Sinkholes and catastrophic ground collapse is not covered by household insurance. If a tree falls...
I think that the sinkholes is kind of crazy because I feel like...
There's a lot of them in Houston.
Yeah, I was going to say, if a sinkhole happens, I feel like that should be...
Houston's built on clay.
Yeah. I think that should be covered, but
It happens a lot. It happens a lot in the southeast. Trees, if a tree falls in a forest, and does homeowners insurance cover it? Sort of. If a fallen tree hits a home or another structure covered by your homeowner's insurance, the policy will cover the damage. It doesn't even matter who owns the tree. The policy should probably also pay for the removal of the tree. And intentional damage. The liability coverage included in the home insurance policy does not cover intentional acts. So there we go. But as I said, for anybody that would like to, war, most home insurance policies exclude damage from war. I think that's a bit of an obvious one. What I want to say to somebody is, it says how to read your insurance policy. You ever tried reading an insurance policy? It's like reading a legal document.
It's exhausting. It makes you tired.
But we're going to wrap up the show now. Please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. My name is Steve Williams. I'm the host of the Texas Real Estate Show. But please, what I really would like you to do is go to the American Red Cross, pull up, for hurricane help, pull up Hurricane Milton, and donate now, to that. 100% of it goes to help all the people in Florida, and they really do need our help and support and obviously thoughts. So anyway, from us, from the Texas Real Estate Show, my name is Steve Williams, and we would like to thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. And from behind the mask, behind the TV screen, we'd like to thank Kay. And so until next week, ta-da for now, and have a good week. Stay healthy.